Is your chain rubbing against one of the derailleur plates? Maybe the chain keeps dropping off the outer chain ring. Or maybe it just doesn't shift well between chain rings. Well, here we'll give you some tips on how to adjust, that is, index the front derailleur. First, make sure the outer plate of the front derailleur is lined up and parallel to the outer chainring and to the frame. If it is not parallel, you can quickly fix that by finding the bolt that fastens the derailleur to the C-tube. This is a clamp-on. It'll be over here, usually with a braze-on. It'll be in the front. You can go ahead and loosen the bolt just slightly, just enough to allow you to turn the derailleur and get it lined up without it slipping down the C-tube, and then go ahead and retighten. Next, check that the outer plate of the front derailleur sits about 4 millimeters or so above the teeth of the outer chainring. And you can do that with a 4 millimeter hex key. Will give you the proper distance. If the derailleur is too high, you risk that the chain will shift and come off the outer chainring. If it's too low, you won't be able to shift to the outer chainring, and in fact, if it's low enough, it'll actually grind down onto the outer chainring teeth. If you need to adjust the height, loosen the pinch bolt that holds the front derailleur cable to the derailleur. Loosen the clamp bolt or braze-on bolt for the derailleur. Go ahead and move the derailleur either up or down, making sure again it's parallel to the chainring and the frame. We can double check this with our 4 millimeter hex key. Looks pretty good. It is parallel. Tighten the clamp or braze-on bolt. Reattach the cable, just finger tight, and tighten the pinch bolt. Now let's take a moment and adjust the barrel adjuster for the front derailleur, which may be on the shifter, down tube. In this case, it's an inline barrel adjuster. We want to turn it clockwise all the way in and then out about 1 full turn. Now we'll turn our attention to the limiting screws. First, go ahead and shift to the smallest chainring and largest cog. We'll adjust the inner limiting screw first, but which one is it? Usually it's the one closest to the C-tube, but not always. So let's use our screwdriver here and see, sure enough, the inner moves the derailleur cage towards or away from the frame. At this point in time, in the small chainring large cog, the outer limiting screw we can see doesn't do anything. So this is the inner limiting screw. To adjust the inner limiting screw while still in the small chainring large cog, we use our Phillips head, and we'll turn it in or clockwise until we hear the chain rubbing right here against the inner plate. Then we're going to back off by turning it counterclockwise until that noise of rubbing just disappears. And at this point, there should be only about 1 millimeter between the chain and the inner plate of the derailleur. At this point, also take out any slack in the front derailleur cable. Tighten it up by hand. And lock it in position. Now we'll turn our attention to the other screw, which is the outer limiting screw. First, shift to the smallest cog. Turn the outer limiting screw clockwise about 1 or 1.5 turns, such that it will not shift to the large chainring. Let's give it a try. No, it does not. Shift back to the small chainring. Turn it out, that is counterclockwise, a quarter of a turn or so. And let's try shifting again. Go back to the small chainring. Another quarter of a turn. There we go. And it just shifts perfectly at this point. If the chain should come off to the outside, you'll need to go ahead and put the chain back on, shift to the smaller chainring, and tighten this maybe a quarter of a turn and try once more. Note that in this position, that is the large chainring and the smallest cog, the chain is about 1 millimeter or so from the outer plate of the derailleur so it won't rub. Now go ahead and run through all our gears. Try shifting the front back and forth. If you need to fine-tune this, we use the barrel adjuster. If you notice any hesitation or sluggishness in moving from the small chainring to the large chainring, to correct this, go to your barrel adjuster. In this case, it's an inline barrel adjuster for the front derailleur. Turn the barrel adjuster about half a turn counterclockwise. This increases the tension on the cable. Go ahead and recheck the shift. If it's still not smooth, turn it again another maybe quarter to half a turn and recheck until you get a nice smooth shift. For sluggishness in moving from the large chainring to the small chainring, in this case, we'll go to our barrel adjuster. We'll turn it clockwise. This will decrease the tension on the cable and should improve the shifting. If not, go ahead and turn it another quarter to half a turn and recheck until you get a nice smooth shift. Just a quick note on Shimano shifters and front derailleurs. They have something called trim. That is, if you're in a small cog in the back and small chainring in the front, you're getting some rubbing, you can shift part way, that is an easy press on the shift lever, and eliminate the rub on the small chainring and smaller cogs. Also works the other direction. You can, if you're in a larger cog and the big chainring, a slight push on the lever will move the derailleur over so we don't get any rubbing, and then another push will allow it to go to the small chainring. Personally, I've found that quite annoying, and you can actually get rid of it if you turn the barrel adjuster out to increase the tension just a tad. You can reach a point where a single press on the lever shifts to the large chainring, and a single press on the other lever shifts to the small chainring. Well, that's about it for the front derailleur. Now some of you may say, well, I have a triple. We'll approach that in an upcoming video. For those of you that run a 1X, that is a single chainring in the front without a front derailleur, all I can say is what Sick Biker said on his videos. If you came close to winning on a 1X, you would have won on a 2X or double. If you have any additions, please comment below. Please subscribe to keep up with our latest videos. This is Tony of Tony 10 Speed. Safe cycling.